The only sounds in the house were the low hum of the refrigerator and the faint, judgmental tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. Silence can be a comfort, but this was a loud, suffocating silence. It pressed in on me. Morning coffee sat untouched, its aroma turning stale, mingling with the scent of old paper and dust in my worn armchair. The floral pattern of the chair was faded from years of use, a ghost of what it once was. My finger trembled as it hovered over the laptop's mouse. Have you ever had that feeling? That moment your stomach plummets, hovering over a login button, knowing that one click could change everything? I had no idea that one signature, one moment of misplaced trust, would haunt me for the rest of my life. My world was about to split into a before and an after. One thought looped in my head, a frantic whisper. It's gone. It's all gone. This isn't just a story about losing money. It's a story about losing your sense of self, about watching a future you thought was a sure thing dissolve into mist. It's about the terrifying moment you realize the system and the people you put your faith in have utterly betrayed you. But it's also a story about what happens after you hit rock bottom. It's about how you start to fight back when you feel you have nothing left to fight with. Imagine this. You've just logged into your new retirement account, the one that holds every penny from your life's work. For 30 years, you were a nurse. Now, you're an investor. For the first couple of weeks, you log in, see this giant, beautiful number, and feel so proud, in control. But then, one Tuesday morning, the number is smaller. Not by a crazy amount at first. Market volatility, the news anchors call it. Your advisor sends a generic email. Stay the course, it says. Don't panic. The next morning, it's down again. This time, by an amount that makes your stomach knot up. It was what you used to earn in 2 months of back-breaking 12-hour shifts. The next day was worse. Those friendly green arrows were gone, replaced by a sea of stark, brutal red. That drop was my grandkids' college fund. The next drop was my rose garden. The next was my peace of mind. The silence in your living room is deafening, broken only by the pounding in your chest. The thought isn't just, it's gone, it's, I let this happen. But that was nothing compared to the phone call that was coming next. Before all that, my vision for retirement was built on one word, pension. For 30 years, I was a nurse. ER, oncology, pediatrics. I've seen it all. I remember my first day in scrubs, the starched fabric so stiff and unfamiliar, the weight of responsibility so heavy. I remember the exhaustion of my first Christmas shift, leaving my own family's cold dinner on the counter to go calm, a child terrified of the machines beeping around him. You give and give. You miss school plays and anniversary dinners. That pension was the promise I received in return. It wasn't just numbers on a page. It was the scent of Mr. Lincoln roses I'd finally have time to plant. It was the sound of my grandchildren's squeals as they ran barefoot in the yard. It was the weight of a paperback book I could finally open on a Tuesday afternoon without feeling guilty. It was plane tickets to see them whenever I wanted, not just for birthdays. It was the promise of peace, a steady, reliable check every single month. That was the deal. With a pension, the risk is on the company. They guarantee it. I didn't have to know what a bull or a bear was. I just had to hold up my end of the bargain. The first time I ever second-guessed that path was at a retirement seminar. The man on stage used words like growth, flexibility, control, and legacy. He made the pension sound old-fashioned, stagnant. He planted a seed of doubt. Was my guarantee actually holding me back? But that little seed of doubt was about to be fertilized with some very persuasive and very expensive advice. What happened next nearly destroyed me. The seminar led to a free consultation with a financial advisor. We'll call him Mark. His office was designed to scream success. The chairs were plush leather that sighed when you sat. The air smelled faintly of expensive cologne, and the ticking of his gold watch on the mahogany desk was the only sound in the room. His smile was the most reassuring thing I'd ever seen. "Let's make this simple," he said, his voice a calm murmur. "Your pension is a great foundation, but it's like having your money asleep. We want to put that money to work." His pitch was a masterpiece. He hit every insecurity. First, control. "Right now," he said, tapping my pension papers, "the company controls this. If you roll this into an IRA, you're in the driver's seat. Next, growth, with charts full of lines going up, up, up. And then he went for the heart, legacy. With most pensions," he said softly, "when you pass away, the checks just stop. With an IRA, the entire account balance goes to your kids." I thought of my daughter, of giving my grandchildren a head start I never had. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere. He breezed over the fees. The word risk was always quickly followed by management. He never contrasted the decades I spent comforting the sick and dying with the 5 minutes he was spending to erode my financial security. He just created a sense of urgency, patting my hand and saying, "The market is great right now, a time-sensitive opportunity." Then came the stack of documents. He slid them across the desk with a rehearsed confidence, just pointing to the signature lines. The weight of the pen felt immense. The scratch of the nib on paper was the only sound. A tiny voice inside me screamed, "Stop! Ask more questions." But I was embarrassed to look foolish. I'd spent my life being a capable woman who made life or death decisions. Surely I could handle this. With just a few signatures, I signed away my guarantee. I had no idea I was really signing over my future to a gamble I didn't understand. Those first few weeks were pure bliss, but it was a fragile joy, the kind you know can't last. The rollover went through, and my new online account showed a number so big it didn't feel real. I had taken control. I even started my first monthly withdrawal, which was more than my pension check would have been. "See," I thought, "it's already working." I booked a flight to see my brand new grandson without a second thought. This was it. Then the whispers started on the news. Headwinds. Market jitters. On TV, the reporters' voices grew tight with panic. The day it really started, I logged in and saw the balance had dropped by the cost of a good used car. My heart skipped a beat. "It's just on paper," I told myself. "It'll come back." It didn't. The next day, it was down by the cost of a brand new car. The day after that, by what I used to make in a year. Refreshing the web page became a form of self-torture. Each click, a new wave of sickness washed over me as the number plunged into an endless sea of throbbing red. At night, I'd lie awake, hearing phrases like panic selling, free fall, and bloodbath. I called Mark's office. "Mr. Thompson wants to remind all his clients not to make any rash decisions," his assistant said, her voice clipped and distant. "We need to ride this out." Ride it out? My life savings were on fire. This is where I learned about sequence of returns risk. It's a fancy name for a horrible truth. When you're saving, a crash is a sale. But when you're retired and withdrawing money, a crash is a catastrophe. To get me my monthly income, Mark had to sell my investments at rock-bottom prices, locking in those losses forever. I was gutting my savings at the worst possible time. But the worst part? I still hadn't hit the bottom. In the weeks that followed, the shock curdled into a constant grim anxiety. The big, beautiful number was gone, replaced by a much smaller, scarier one. A number that screamed, "You are going to run out of money." The quiet in the house grew loud and suffocating. The empty chair at the dinner table, the untouched teacup on the end table. They weren't just objects anymore. They were symbols of my aloneness in this mess. My retirement dream was dead. The rose garden, the smell of baking pies, gone. My new reality was a spreadsheet and a gnawing humiliation. Grocery shopping became a chore of shame. Have you ever sat at your kitchen table doing math on the back of a receipt? I stood in the aisle with a calculator, comparing the price per ounce of canned beans. I started turning off the lights early to save electricity, writing checks with a shaky hand. I'd feel a pang of guilt saying no to my grandson's request for a new toy, knowing the few dollars mattered. I felt like such a failure. I wasn't a respected retired professional. I was a cautionary tale. And I was so angry. Angry at the advisor. Angry at a system that lets this happen. And so angry at myself. This wasn't bad luck. It was a betrayal of my dignity as a caregiver. My lifetime of service was undone by his lifetime of self-interest. But even after hitting rock bottom, the hardest decision was still ahead of me. For a month, I was paralyzed. Then one morning, a nurse's instinct kicked in. The patient was my financial life, and it was bleeding out. I had to stop the bleeding. Step 1 was a forensic accounting of every single dollar. This was the first time in months I felt any control. Step 2 was Social Security. My plan was to wait until 70. That plan was a joke now. I needed guaranteed income now. I started my benefits right away. The monthly check was smaller, but it was a guarantee. It was a rock. Not as big as my pension, but something solid. This was my first real victory. This led to the next hard choice. I sold the family home. Packing up 30 years of memories was heartbreaking. I stood in my daughter's empty room, smelling the faint, sweet scent of her childhood, tracing the worn growth chart on the doorframe. The echo of laughter in the empty hallway was deafening, but I traded those empty rooms for a small condo I could buy with cash. This wasn't defeat. It was a strategic retreat and a huge win for my dignity. Step 4 came from the trauma. I couldn't sleep knowing my ability to buy food depended on Wall Street's mood. So I took a chunk of the money and bought a simple, fixed-income annuity. I was recreating a mini pension for myself. It wasn't an investment for growth. It was an investment for sleep. That was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. But even after I found stability, there was still one thing I had to face. Finally, I had to mourn the retirement I lost and accept the one I had. My goal wasn't to get rich anymore. It was simply to not be poor. It was to have enough. I had to let go of the anger and replace it with a survivor's pragmatism. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was the architect of my own recovery. So that's where I am today. I don't take big vacations. I watch every dollar. But I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm secure. I'm a survivor. I have 2 sources of guaranteed income that cover my needs. I have 0 debt. And I have a peace of mind that no stock portfolio, no matter how big, could ever give me. I learned the hard way that the number on a screen is an illusion. Real wealth isn't about how much your money could grow. It's about knowing, with certainty, that you can pay your bills next month. My story is a warning. It's a plea to anyone thinking about a pension rollover to understand what, exactly, you're giving up. That guarantee is priceless. Don't trade a certainty for a possibility without knowing the massive risks. But I also hope my story can be a source of strength. Even when you hit rock bottom, you can claw your way back. It takes brutal honesty and hard choices. You have the power to ask the hard questions, to demand clear answers, and to walk away from anything that feels more like a sales pitch than good advice. Your financial security is too important to trust to anyone else. If this story hit home for you, please share it with someone you know who's getting close to retirement. If my experience can save even one person from the fear and panic that I went through, then sharing this will have been worth it. Check on your own plans. Ask the tough questions. Make sure you're protected. Thanks for listening. Watch this next for another gripping tale of retirement gone wrong, plus the lesson you can't afford to miss.